Jan, in the interest of time, is it okay if I just start off and do the introduction? I'm so glad we did the practice run. And,
yes, please, please.
You know what we had done is a little while back, about an hour back, we had a practice run for about nice 10-15 minutes, and everything was just so smooth. And then, you know, it's interesting. This is what happened. And I think that's what being human is also all about. Ajay, so thank you very much, everybody, for taking the time out and your interest in this. Basically, this is an initiative that Rabia has initiated. Speaking of Rabia, she's a new person to me. Jan, I don't know how long you've known her, but she's actually reached out to us, and she has this desire to do something for the development of people. And she's based in Multan. She got in touch with Jan in South Africa, got in touch with me sitting in Karachi right now. And it's like 5 days back, I had no idea there was a person existing like Rabia. And there she is. She's put everything together. She's a very gung-ho lady. And she wanted to bring this concept called value-based leadership to Pakistan in particular because of the magic that it has had. And it's not just a training program. There is a complete method to the madness as well. And to bring it more sense, more research, more material, more continuity and sustainability of the entire intervention. She or Jan, and then we had our conversation as well last week, and what we decided is it is best that we don't push people, we don't publicize it that we're doing this intervention, why don't you join in, and we actually engage people who are committed and serious for this. And for example, even today, a little while back, we were saying, do we need 10 people or do we go with 7 people? As a kickstart, as round one is, you know, so that is where we are in terms of deciding of there's a lot of, because those of, and everybody's from Pakistan over here, so you know that Pakistan has a lot of opportunity and there's a lot of scope. Ideally, in every city you need to have minimum 20 people to roll out something like this, which will take time. And now right now we've got almost entire Pakistan over here. If I can just request you to put down your location on the chat, it would actually help. And then I'll hand over to Jan Roberts for his introduction and what is values-based leadership. If you just put down your location, it would help, please. Which part of Pakistan you're from? Rizwan from Narowal. Okay, very nice. Islamabad. Zora Karachi, Arslan Tribal. Umar, we have met somewhere? Because the digital screen is very difficult to get. I'll just unmute you. Yes, have we met somewhere? Okay. Allow me to record the video. Okay. Now, safe tribal.
Yes, we have met, Farhad, sir. We have met in Lahore about 3 years ago at your session at Chai Khana.
Faisal Akbar Awan. Yes, I remember. Good to see you again. And I noticed that you want to record this. My request is before you start pushing it anyway, just speak to Rabia, because Rabia is like the head of the entire project. It's her passion that we are basically following. So yeah, abhi record kar le, aap push lijiyega. What we'll do is we'll primarily stick to English, but obviously there are, Jan, if we say something in Urdu, it is not that we are hiding something from you. It's just that we are adding the garnishing to the conversation. So we're adding more life to it. So that's the only thing that we're doing. Okay. And I'll, by the way, those of you who don't know me, I'll introduce myself later on when my turn comes, because it's not my turn. So Rabia, I did the initial part, and then I'll again, you can just tell us why, Jan, I've done the initial part, why Jan, and then we move on. Start.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. And thank you so much, everyone. Okay.
Okay, go on, Rabia, please. Glad to have you back.
Okay, because this is a virtual meeting and this kind of things happen. So bear with us, guys, and thank you so much that you all joined this program or this initial introductory session. And the purpose of doing that was that just कि फरहाद अपनी जो है माशाल्लाह वो 24 साल से ये काम कर रहे हैं ट्रेनिंग्स का. जैन अपने साउथ अफ्रीका से हैं और वो साउथ अफ्रीका में जो है ट्रेनिंग्स से वाबस्ता है, जॉन मैक्सवेल से सर्टिफाइड हैं. और बाकी जब सबकी टर्न आएगी, जैन अपने बारे में कुछ फुल इंट्रोडक्शन देंगे और फरहाद भी बताएंगे अपने बारे में. So अगर आप मुझे जानते हैं तो मैं कब से कोशिश कर रही हूँ कि virtual world के जरिए हम अगर किसी भी प्लेटफॉर्म पे उसको यूटिलाइज करके प्रोडक्टिवली काम कर सकते हैं. So that was mine part. और मैंने इनवाइट किया फरहाद को और जैन को कि we have to do something like this. So now हम आज बात करेंगे कि वैल्यू बेस्ड लीडरशिप हम कैसे अपनी लाइफ लीड कर रहे हैं, वो कौन सी वैल्यूज हैं जिनके तहत लीड कर रहे हैं, and how we can improve that. So yes, Jan, kindly introduce yourself and then about the concept that you have, about the program that you want to launch.
Yeah, thank you very much, Rabia. And yes, I've known Rabia, I don't know, is it about 2 years now? I remember you interviewed me quite a while ago, and we've connected since, but Mr. Farhad already did an introduction and said that the three of us together only met last week, and that you're passionate about this kind of project. So I'm actually from the Netherlands originally. We emigrated to Scotland in the last 5 years. I've set it with my partner here in South Africa, the Key Leadership Institute, and it's been a great passion of mine to impact and help and support people. And you know, I've been doing personal development for many years, but what really happened is a life-changing moment, and I think it's very important that I share this with you, because this is the kind of impact that will happen, not might, not could be happening, this will happen. In 2013, John Maxwell asked for volunteers to go and help start the transformation of an entire country. Now, I don't know about you, but I have never been asked that before. I have been asked since, but I never thought that was going to be possible. So I volunteered. I was in the mentorship team. And in the summer of 2013, 150 of us volunteers went to Guatemala. And that's the first time I saw this process that we're going to talk a little bit about. And what happened there was we trained 19,000 people in 3 days to become facilitators in this process. Now, we also used another language. So Urdu is not a problem. As long as I've got a translator, I'm good. We use Spanish there. And the average age in Guatemala, 14 million people, the average age was 20. So you can imagine the problems, every problem that's possible, they had it. And so our interpreters were only 16, 17 years old. Now, what I saw in those 3 days, we were practicing first ourselves and then with interpreters, and what I saw in those 3 days changed my life. On the way home, I was in the oil industry for 30 years. On the way home, I quit my job and I fired my boss, because the impact that process had on those people, but also on me, when I saw how these people not reacted, they responded. You know, 19,000, and we could have been there for another week training another 19,000, because they came from everywhere. And this is the army, the forces, the government, hospitals, schools, villages, fire brigade. You think of it, banks, you think of it, we were in their training. And now, I mean, it was the first time, so we made a few mistakes, granted. But now, more than 1 million people in Guatemala has gone through this process. Guatemala has been transforming ever since we set foot in the country. Now, we are not the transformers. We are only the messengers. That's how I see myself. But it's an amazing message, amazingly simple message. And in this process, what we talk a little bit about, and we develop further with all of you who are interested to become part of this transformational journey in Pakistan, is that the simplicity of it. And I always found that it's always us human beings who make things too complicated. Now, this process, when it happened in Guatemala, a very short period after that, there was nearly 30 countries and presidents asked in writing if we could come and help them start a transformation as well. Now, in 2016, we went to Paraguay. We had with our experiences, so we did a better job. We trained 17,000 leaders in a week. In 2018, a group went to Costa Rica. I didn't go with them this time. They trained 15,000 leaders of all walks of life. And when I say leaders, remember, we are all leaders. So the people came from government to schools to informal areas, anywhere and everywhere. And we went, myself and my partner went to, we're both the only certified specialists in Africa. And we went to Ireland, where we'd helped another lady friend of us who started Lift Ireland. Now, Lift stands for Leading Ireland's Future Together. And there we helped us the start of training of this whole concept in Ireland. That gives you a small overview, but this process left such a life-changing impression on me. And John Maxwell always talks about, once you've tasted significance, success will never be enough. And for me, I felt that in Guatemala, and I know, and I hope, but I also know that when you become part of this journey, I can guarantee you, you will feel it too. And I mean, it still leaves me goosebumps when I think about what happened there. And there's videos available of quite a few of these on our website. But it is a process that will, it's not, it might change your life. It will positively impact and change your life. And you have the ability, like we have together, because we can only do this together. So we have the ability to do this together. And the simplicity of it is, it's called values-based leadership. Now, a lot of people hear about values and they hear about leadership and they say it's for them. But we are all leaders and we all need to personally develop every single day. I do this every day. I practice. I don't just say it. I practice it every day. And the reason we've actually renamed this process, for the simplicity of it, into sustainable personal development, because that's exactly what it is. But it is actually basic human values like honesty, respect, hope, developing people, attitude, listening, connection, self-esteem. You know, there is so many of them. And also what will happen is that through this process, what we've now begun with the three of us, is through this process we will also find out what are the most important values for the people of Pakistan, because we have 47, 48 of them, but we want to put a module together of about 10 values that are most important to the people of Pakistan. We did it in Guatemala, we did it in Ireland, we did it in all the other countries, because that's what, it's not what we think is necessary, it's what the people would want more about. And the values are very simple, because, you know, I don't know about you, but we've been told before about, you know, you need to show more respect as kids, you need to listen better, you know, have a better attitude. But nobody ever told us how you had to do that. And if they did, we wouldn't know if we were on the same page. So the thing about this is with going through these values in a process called roundtables. Doesn't mean we have to sit around a round table, but sit around the table together, whether virtually like we do it now, or in our families, in our communities. We sit together and we go through this value. These values are all set up the same way. They're 2 pages, and it tells you actually, for example, listening. It tells you what listening is, the benefits of somebody who's a good listener, the benefits of listening better, the characteristics of somebody who's a good listener, and more importantly, steps to follow to become a better listener. Normally, it is one value every week. So if this module for Pakistan has 10 values, that means every 10 weeks, we can start again with a different group. And I mean, people say, what are you doing now? I've done this for 7 years. I do this again every week because I need to learn every week. Not every time is the same. So, and then after that, you've got an evaluation box. So you score yourself from 1 to 10. How good do you think you are, or not, as the case may be? And then you also, within that, you say why, but the most important thing is you set yourself a small, measurable goal, a SMART goal, personal goal, what you are going to do over the next week to improve your value of listening, if it's a value of listening. So you not only are you going to learn about it, you're going to discuss this, and everyone is going to talk about themselves. We'll talk about ourselves. So we learn about other people around the table. We learn more about ourselves, and then we're going to implement it. So, for example, I give you one example that a colonel in a Guatemalan army stood up and he said, you know, I finally realized that what listening is. And on Tuesday night at 6 o'clock, I'm going to sit down with my family. I'm going to apologize for never having been a good husband and father, because I realized I never listened. And I'm going to promise to listen better. That was his small goal. Now, whatever your goal is for the week, but it's a time, a date, a place, and with whom they're going to do that. So the more specific you are, the better you will be able to develop your skills and support those around you. So that is basically a very quick oversight of what this is doing. But these values are sustainable. These values are changing, and the slogan for this transformation begins with me. So that means that we can all get involved. We have youngsters as young as 10 years old, because they can read, who've become certified facilitators in this process. So anybody can do this. That's me. Thank you.
So thank you so much. And I think that we have to go to Farhad. And Farhad, Just tell us.
Great, thank you very much. And I'll tell you what excited me. So, as you probably realize, what this is values-based leadership is a module. And Jan, I'll just fill in the gap. You could fill in the gaps in this process as well. So it's basically a facilitator program. So, as Rabia said, the objective is to select 10 people, 8 to 10 people as facilitators, people who are committed to taking the message forward. Once you're selected, you get access to a lot of reading material as well. You get access to a book which Jan very kindly has offered for Pakistan. I think it's a €15 instrument that you have.
Yes, normally these, bless you. Normally these modules are €15, £15, $15 each. But at the moment, because of the situation we're in, even the organization who's trained us and we are licensed to have given that free to us, so we can actually support the training of people at the moment, which is wonderful.
Great. So yeah, it's very kind of them. So if you notice, it's a gift that once you're selected, you then get access to this particular booklet. You use it, and we also use it when we're going through the program. Now, it's very interesting when you brought up the subject of values to me, and I'm not too aware of everybody in the group, but Umar, for example, I know you do attend programs and you know the kind of conversations that happen, and you notice how often people speak of values. Okay. For example, do you know the 3 values of Pakistan? You can just raise your hand and then unmute and just step it out. What are the 3 values of Pakistan? I'm pretty sure you know this. Yeah. Just shoot out. Chalo. I'll unmute you all at the same time. Just throw out. I'm pretty sure you know 3 values of Pakistan. Unmuting all. Okay. 3 values of Pakistan.
Passion,
unity, faith, and
Brilliant. I'll mute you again. Okay, sorry. Spot on. You notice, and Ajahn, did you notice? It is actually unity, faith, and discipline. You ask any Pakistani, that's generally what they'll say. But perhaps the challenge is, while we call this our value, the missing link is actually the practices. And I think that is what values-based leadership is all about. We've all probably heard of the concept of principle-centered leadership by Stephen Covey. What are principles, values? So I think what excited me personally about this program is that we're speaking of values. A couple of years back, I was telling Jan, we were doing this assignment for a company in Lahore, and then we sent the participants out over a period of 3 days. We sent them out. We said, go and find out what are values. It's very interesting. They said when they came back, they were completely lost. The information would just not synthesize together. I'll give you an example. Almost everybody came back with the value that integrity is honesty, integrity, honesty. And one of the participants, he did something very naughty. What he did is he asked the guy, he said, okay, it was a jewelry shop near Liberty Market, the jewelry shop over there. He said, I went there and I asked that person, I said, and I'll say this in Urdu, and I'll come back in English. He said, यहाँ पे 10,000 रुपए का कोई बंदा भूल जाए. If somebody leaves 10,000 rupees on the counter, what would you do? He said, I'll keep it inside, I'll wait for the person to come. So the person who's interviewing, he said, what if that person never comes? He said, then I'll use it. He said, but it's not yours. He said, yeah, but that person never came and I don't know who to give, so I'll use it. He said, why wouldn't you give it to the police? He said, no, I don't trust them. And he said, one of his values is integrity and honesty. So, I mean, that is the missing link that most people have between principles and practices, between values and what we are actually doing. So as Jan said, what happens is there are 6 values, right, Jan? So you had said there are 6 values that we've identified according to research. There are 6. I think they're more like virtues than anything else. It's like things which have been translated over the years. Let's take respect, listening. We all know how important that is, even in our culture, in our society, and in our religion. But the challenge comes in people don't practice it. So what this program does is when you go through the facilitator program, you learn of what these things are, and then you have time to practice it as well. As you practice, the objective is that you take this message forward and you roll it out to masses. Now, how you do that is again your choice. You want to do it little. These days, there's physical distancing. Keep those physical distancing. Start off the message with your home, because we all know what happens when you can claim to be respectful, but one falter and the whole thing collapses. So we all have to be the people who are selected. That's why it's a very small group. The idea is that people who really would love to live the values, who think they're part of it. I think Jan took my heart, and someone I noticed over here, he took my heart away. He said, one of the values that is being under consideration for a while, and now it will be part of the program, is the value of compassion. Someone, by the way, Jan and Rabia, she's worked with Charter for Compassion also, and her first project that she had ever undertaken, a mega project, was actually Charter for Compassion. She still sweats when she hears the word compassion because of the kind of uncompassionate behavior that people would demonstrate. Speaking of compassion, but so yes, compassion. You see a smiley face in the wall. So this is what it is. And in order to give more meaning, what was also very interesting is Jan suggested that we do a countrywide survey. I think this was just my opinion, that countrywide survey, as I said, what is the values of Pakistan, every with the unity, faith and discipline. And then people will just throw words. What they need to understand, it is not the words, it is actually the practices. So for example, fun can be your value. Now these are not corporatized fancy words on the walls. We are looking at what you actually live by. Playing could be your value. Being creative could be your value. Being naughty can also be your value. Because what are values? Values are actually the thought process, the software that runs the hardware. So if I'm smiling, maybe my value is somewhere deep down, smiling is my value. It's demonstrated through my action. Happiness is my value, demonstrated through my action. Listening, I can say, is my value. But if you don't feel like you exist when you speak with me, I have not practiced listening. The challenge is, as you know, what happens if it says that, when you're listening, you nod, you paraphrase, you look into the person straight into the eyes, don't hijack the conversation. That is practice of listening. And that is perhaps one of the greatest leadership challenges, being a role model to yourself of your values. So this is broadly what it is. Now, before Rabia goes into, on what criteria and what the next step would be, we'd now like to open it up for any questions that you would like to ask Jan and Rabia in particular. I say in particular because I'm still in a romanticizing period right now. Okay, it's my third day into this, but I was amazed with the concept. I think it was just so brilliant, and the kind of and that's what I told Jan also, that working with Guatemala, Paraguay, these are countries where the impact has been created, and if those countries have been created, why not us? That somebody know that it is very passionate. I'm very passionate about what happens in Pakistan.
Yeah, because also just to add to that, Mr. Farhad, that we have been doing case studies here in South Africa for the last 5 years. We've worked in the neighboring country, Swaziland, with a whole municipality where we took middle management and up 34 of them through the process. The community, the municipality has changed forever. And, when you talked about compassion, which we also kind of connected on, and my partner is actually writing a book about compassionate leadership. And last week, she actually wrote the value of compassion because, she's very compassionate indeed. And she actually wrote this value because we keep adding, as we hear more different things that are important to people, it's a live thing, so we keep expanding. So the value of compassion we already have, and it's wonderful. So to if you have any questions to any of us, please, I hope we can answer them. Thank you.
Farhad, your mic is mute.
Oh yeah. Okay, sorry. Okay, what I said. Thank you for highlighting. I said is any questions that you have, you could just type down the question and ask the question. We'll do a face to face, but it's good to have the question over there so that everybody can see as well. Yeah. So if you have any questions, if you have any questions, just ask. Put it down over there and ask as well, and the relevant person will reply. इस program के बारे में, इसकी duration के बारे में, कोई values के बारे में कोई चीज, any challenge in your own city that you see, anything that comes to your mind. I think the most important question, if you're very, very passionate about the whole thing as well, you think it is something meaningful and a message that you would like to take forward, and it's bringing an international program by, because बातें तो हर कोई करता है, you've probably been through those sessions where people speak of values and principles and respect and integrity, but it is actually bringing something to every nook and corner of the city. I mean, I would love to see people taking this message in Narowal and other places, Bahawalpur, Narowal. ये तो कुछ मैंने देख लिया तो इसलिए मैंने कह दिया. Yes, questions. कोई सवाल आपका? Any question? It's like almost frozen. Okay, Rizwan, you have a question. I'm going to unmute you. Rizwan, you can ask.
Thank you, Farhad, for giving me the opportunity. I'm Rizwan from Narawal. Currently, I'm staying in Narawal. However, I belong to my native town, Narawal.
Yes, I can.
I want to ask about leadership. That what is leadership and what the skills I will learn after this course, and how it will be benefit for myself as a teacher.
I'll just repeat, Rizwan, your question. It's really easy if you type it down. So correct me if I'm wrong. What you're saying is that what is leadership and how does it help me as a person? Is that what you said? Perfect. John, you want to take a stab at it? Let me unmute you as well. You're on mute.
Okay, I unmuted myself. Yeah. Okay. Wonderful question, and thank you very much for participating. And leadership, there is a lot that can be said about what is leadership. But I have to quote my friend and mentor John Maxwell, who's written 120 books about the subject. He has two quotes. He says, "Everything rises and falls on leadership, but then the more important one is leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less." And I'll explain that a little bit. What it actually means is leadership is about having influence with people, not over people. If you have leadership over people, you're a boss, and that could go much further. But what it is the best leaders build the best relationships. And if you take that further, how do you build the best relationships? By asking the best questions. How do you ask the best questions? By, again, we come back to what Mr. Farhad already said, by listening better. Everything depends on listening. So coaching is actually about listening very, very well, and on the strength of what the other person says, ask better questions. And every time you learn to listen better, which is a skill that we all need to improve on at times, then we can actually improve on that. So overall, leadership is again, it's very simple, but I mean, it's mostly about building relationships with other people, because without people, there is no leadership. John said, if you're leading and you look around and there is no people following, you're merely taking a walk. So it is very important. And how can this help you personally? Well, they call it values-based leadership, and it is values-based, but this will help you in your personal development, because as I said, building relationship is about communication. How can we start better communication in a global world where we are much more tied to electronics than ever before? And I think this is the reset button at the moment, where we actually are getting back to the human touch, but using technology for that human touch. So if we can learn to communicate better, and we can listen to other people, and when we sit in these roundtable processes, when we sit in a group of 5, 6, 7 people every week for half an hour, that's after the facilitated training, every week for half an hour, and you can do as many half-hour times with as many people as you like, but it is to sit there, communicate with people, listen to people, learn from people, and understand. And that is really the basis of leadership. I say that the reason leadership around the world has been failing for such a long time is because it's a lack of values. And what is a lack of values? It's a lack of foundations. And we with the Leadership Institute, and Mr. Farhad has also plenty leadership programs. But if we're teaching leadership without building the solid foundation first, it's like buying a house in a swamp. Eventually that house will subside with you and everything in it. And that's what we see globally all the time. And we can think of great leaders all the time, of major leaders, but if we're all leaders, how do you see this in your communities? How do you maybe see this in families? How do you see this in cities? Are the leadership, especially in a time of crises now? I do a mastermind about leadership through crisis. Especially in crises now, that's where real leaders become visible, and you will see a lot more people standing up you never heard of before, you never seen before, and otherwise also all of a sudden they stand up. This process creates leadership, because the people who are going to take this forward first and foremost are leaders, because they want to be part of something bigger than themselves. They want to feel that significance, and they want to start the transformation of an entire country. And it always starts with one. It starts with the person looking in the mirror. And that's why Mr. Farhad and Rabia said, well, let's start with a select group. So we actually start this whole process, and that's what leadership is all about. And will we learn from it? I learn from it every single day. I learn from the stories I hear from people who are involved in these roundtables, from the feedback even youngsters in colleges and schools give us. I could tell you stories all day and every day, but I mean, I get up out of my bed because this is such a powerful and worthwhile concept that exceeds any kind of leadership training that we've ever had before. So I hope that answered the question.
Perfect, Rizwan. Thank you very much. And just to add to that, just a little, when you say, how would these values help me? You know what the beauty is? People actually think that, and I'm thinking of people in general, Rizwan, not to you, but people generally think that values are this great thing or to be kept on a pedestal, to be respected. Interestingly, everything you and I are doing is actually representing one way or the other some set of values. So even a person who bribes and corrupts also has values. It is his values to do that, because the actions are there. Those actions are driven by a particular software, whether it's universally acceptable, and the good values are generally universally acceptable, not at the cost of anything else. Now, those are universal values, but the beauty is that we all have values. And sometimes when you go through experiences like these, I haven't been through this one in particular, but when you go through experiences like these, you get an opportunity to reflect, as Jan said. You actually think, what am I doing? Is this right? Where did this come into me? Is this a value or is this a virus? Is this a virus that has been thrown into me because of conformity and insecurity? I mean, human beings were never meant to be like that. We were meant to be very free. But all of these viruses comes in from all different sources by as we grow up, that these values that we really need to be practicing go away. Hiding information, that's a value that some people have. Right or wrong, I'm not getting into that. And that is why if you can learn those values without really working hard at it, and all of us, we learn, we pick up those viruses without working hard. So that means it's a learned behavior. If it's a learned behavior, we can also unlearn it as well. And that is what interventions like these are. So thank you. I think it was a very interesting question. And next question. I want to know that how we lead our life as a great example, how to lead our basic life with proper ethics. I think probably starts off with realizing and reflecting. And it's very important to label. You see, now even people can always argue, but why do I need to go through a value check? I know what the rights and the wrongs are. It is like putting a label. So if you notice in your kitchen, you have a lot of masalas and sugar and the salt and everything, but people put a label on it. Imagine running your kitchen without the labels on the containers. You're high risk. You may get it right, but it's high risk. So it's identifying the labels that creates the magic. Yeah, you want to add to that, Jan, or you would pick up a question as well from the questions?
Yeah, no, I'll just say to that is that that's absolutely right. And first of all, I'm not a teacher of values. This process is not a teacher of values. I call it a reawakening of the awareness, because we've all heard about values, but now we actually consolidate what these values really are, and that we are in our families and in our communities, we are going to be on the same page, that we all understand the values the same way. Because once we are on the same page, we can work together as a team much more constructively, whether it's in family life or in communities or in entire companies. Because you mentioned, Mr. Farhad, a few days ago, that culture eats vision for breakfast. And that is in family life, that is in communities, and especially when they always talk about the culture of an organization. But there's all kinds of organization, even a family is an organization. So when we can positively influence the culture of all these different organizations, because we actually help them to understand what we understand and what we're going through in the value system, that's when the basics of ethics and values and principles comes together like it's never done before. Thank you.
Great. So thank you for bringing that up. Hina, you have a point. You made a point. I don't see a question. In case it's a question, you could unmute yourself and ask. It says, I think accountability is lacking. So is that a statement? Is that a question? Is that a solution you're looking?
No, you asked a question. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes, thank you.
Okay. No, you asked a question that any of the value that you are looking, which is missing people around you. So I write this accountability is missing.
Okay, good. Yes. I think
being a nation, we never held ourselves accountable for any failure or any mistake. Like we always held no. अगर ये मुझे job नहीं मिली तो सिफारिश थी. पेपर में पास नहीं हुए तो सिर्फ वो पैसे दिए रिश्वत देंगे. So we never even my 6-year-old son, he is it's so difficult for him to say sorry and to realize his mistake. So being a nation, it's too difficult for us to realize our own mistake and to hold ourselves accountable for these failures.
Very true, and perhaps that is where the role model is missing, because and it's not only our families and everybody. Look at what's happening. Look at the television in the evening, and every day you find accountability lacking. ये क्यों हुआ? 70 साल से ये चल रहा है.
Yes.
You know, everything, as long as we are stuck in excuses, we are not taking remedial action. It's as simple as that. And maybe what Rabia right now is, she's not, okay, she's here, yeah. You know what, I think I have personally, why am I associated with this? I'll tell you what, I've always found a lot of passion in people who want to do things and want to do it right with a lot of commitment. I think it's a great, now you explained leader. And that's what a leader does. You know, we're looking at 10 people. Look at the population of Pakistan and the current state of affairs we are in right now. Because of the lockdown in particular at this point. Yet you have somebody in all the negativity, and while the experts are waiting for the great economic depression to hit in their minds, here we are speaking of opportunities that exist for each one of us. And it's basically a role model. I'll give you an example. I took my son to a particular school, one of the leading schools of Karachi. I had an issue because the teacher told us when we were sitting over there, sit there. And my immediate reaction to why didn't she say please? Why did she not say thank you? And then you expect the children to do the same. It's everybody's responsibility. I think it's a very valid point. What is leadership? I'll just see any other questions that you may have about the program, about so it's a facilitator program, and then you're encouraged to do this every week with your participants. Once you go through the 6 days, you understand it, you digest it, and then you have your conversations with people around you. And on and off, this is something Rabia I never spoke of, and I am just speaking because it's only 7, 8 of us who probably be there. If you ever have question also, you know, I think I would personally like to take it as my responsibility to add. So in case you find it difficult at any point in time, you need question. I'm sure Jan, myself, Rabia will always be available to help you clarify. Because we need to understand there are people coming with a lot of cemented perspectives. And here you are trying to nudge them into waking up to a different world altogether. You're getting them to unlearn. It's not going to be an easy task. Then we would love to be, even if your facilitator training finishes, we would like to be there for you to assist in whatever way and talk and discuss, as I said, just an objective advisor. We are not experts. I don't consider myself as an expert, but we just have access to lots of different stories. Yes, Rabia, unmute yourself. Yes, please. Thank you.
And he's a trainer and wellness coach as well from Multan. He's so introduce yourself, Saad, kindly.
हाँ जी साद, आप इंट्रोड्यूस कर लें. एंड एक सवाल आया है जो कि मैं बताऊंगा. ड्यूरेशन ऑफ द प्रोग्राम, उमर, यस, आई विल लेट यू नो. एंड कोर्स आउट.
Assalamu alaikum everyone.
Yes, wa alaikum assalam.
I hope everyone would be okay and trying to make his best, inshallah. It's really wonderful to have all of you here, and I'm really happy that people who are actually doing great are here to facilitate the mindset of other people like me. I am actually getting facilitated by Farhad bhai and the other person, I don't remember his name actually, from Kyle Leadership. And everyone, thank you for being here. My question is, we have spent a lot of time so far in our life. So what is the basic process that we can actually find out what values we have inculcated so far in ourselves? So how to identify your own values, that okay, this is one of my value and I have practiced over the period of time. Sometimes we don't have idea. So how to ask ourselves कि मैं अपनी values को कैसे identify करूँगा कि मेरे अंदर कौन सा virus है और कौन सा value जो है अब तक मेरे अंदर जा चुका है. So thank you very much if there is a process for that.
Yeah, it's very interesting. You've been a very smart one. I can't, you're just very smart, but I can't accuse you because the assignment that is, once we finish this and if you're interested, the assignment that you need to submit is actually trying to find out what your values are and sending us, what your 5 values are and a description of that. That was actually the assignment. But, overview, Jan, you want to add to that? How can they help find out their values?
Yeah, and you know, we talked about this already, of course, Mr. Farhad, before, and it's very interesting that you know people are always asking because this is the situation we have landed in over many, many, many years around the world. There is nothing new about Pakistan or Guatemala or the US, UK, or South Africa. It's always a question because you know we assume that we know all these values, but once we're and that we practice, we like to think that we all have at least some value-driven system, some system that we practice ourselves to make sure that we do no harm to other people and whatever that includes. Because when they talk about leadership, I sometimes say that Hitler was a good leader, and people say, oh, you can't say that. Yeah, he was a good leader. He just had the wrong values, a 180 the wrong values, but he had values and they needed sorting, obviously. But in our own personal lives, we need to start thinking what, as you already mentioned, what is important to us. You know, and when you sit, if you've got family, you sit and you kid, am I actually listening? Really good. I mean, it's a value I really need because I've got family, I've got a business, I work in the communities or in a company, but am I listening? So you need to start a bit of introspection, really. And you know, it doesn't mean that it's the only 5 values, but if you can already come up with 5 to give us more of an overview of what is important to the people in Pakistan in general. And so when you sit down, is, you know, write down a list of the things that are important to you in life. And that might not just be a 5-minute thing. I get that, because as you say, if you're already struggling to really say, okay, accountability came out, and I love that because it is within the process, and the simple process every week. At the end, that little goal you set yourself, the next week you come back, and the first thing that happened before you go to the next value is, what was your goal last week and how did you get on? Now there is another thing I need to add to that, because it is only self. You're not accountable to the people in your group. It is accountable to you only, because if you come back and say, you know, I said I was going to do this, but and then something happened. It says we all know that stuff happens, but this whole process is non-judgmental. So if it happened, all the facilitator says, well, thank you, and move on to the next person. It's irrelevant. But I mean, you are your own accountability, but you learn this because you see other people achieving small successes, or maybe even bigger ones, because goal setting has been something that has been lacking for a lot of people. They always think about goals is that the big car, the big home. No, it's the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. These are those single steps. And if we all start setting small goals, which probably involve others to improve our values, what's going to happen to the people around us? But to actually really sit down and think about 5 values that are important to you. Whether they're important to other people at the moment is irrelevant. It is what is important to you. And Mr. Farhad went through this as well, whether it's having fun, whether it is accountability, whether it is or listening, respect, hope. In the module, we're going to work with the training module. Normally there is 3 values in the training module, but we had the fortune. And this module was written for a time such as this, because the first value is connection. And that value is actually written before it came out a couple of weeks ago. It actually mentions COVID-19, because connection is more important than ever before at a human level. We might be social distancing, but we should be emotionally connecting with people. And I said as well, we might be in isolation, but we don't have to be isolated. And for that, we need to connect more. So that value is amazing. So it's a value of, in the 6 values that are in this training module, connection, listening, restraint, forgiveness, self-esteem, and hope. Now, every one of them at the moment will speak somewhere, because when you're locked up like never before in lockdown, like we are as well, sometimes, you know, you might need to show a bit of restraint and not say the things. Sometimes you did say the things, you might ask for a bit of forgiveness, and this is a great time to build your self-esteem, which all of us can do. So you know, to have an idea about, I mean, you can even Google and see what values is all about, so you get a better understanding. And there's a whole list of values online that you can find, and just go through and just pick the ones that you think that speak to you right now. When you find them, you'll know. But it's a process you need to go through, and we hope you join us with that and come with 5 values to the table, so we can also support your values in putting them in as much as possible, putting in values that speak to everybody in Pakistan in that module, so eventually we can come forward with that module. Thank you.
Great, thank you. In fact, I think it was a useful question, and very rightly said. You know, it's not that it will come at the same time. What we could recommend and urge you to do is, let's just take the word accountability. It would actually help. So, you've got these words, and probably the words are coming into your mind. You know what? This is my value. Yes, family is my value. Define what do you mean by family is my value. Over 2 or 3 days, just see your reaction to what happens when you're sitting with family. Are you really sitting with family? And then you find out, we've got physical distancing right now, but assuming, let's just say you say family is your value, but if you're sitting quietly at home watching TV and a friend calls you, and you've called it this family time, but you go out leaving the family, then maybe your value is actually friends. So it's a nice to have value, definitely, but maybe it's not there in the top 5. It's like a nice to have, and there's no harm in there. There are core values, there are peripheral values, and they're nice to have values as well. I think, Hina, piggybacking on your point, when you spoke of accountability, what is your definition of accountability? Maybe, how is it different from responsibility? Jawabdehi and zimmedari mein kya farak hai? And then it'll give you greater clarification. Monitor then your own conversation. I'm not saying only to you, but generally, if I were to pick up answering Saad's question, if I said accountability is my value, I would then observe for a day or two, how often do I end up making excuses? When somebody asks me, how often do I say, don't ask me, that's none of my problem. Jawabdehi to khatam ho gayi. My answerability is finished. I'm not being accountable for what happens. So you'll be able to identify, because it is the behaviors that we're demonstrating which are actually representing our values. And that could be a good introspection, as Jan said. You go introspect, jo main karta hoon, usko kya title denge? So maybe, for example, I get angry very soon. So obviously, the anger is a value. No, but maybe there are certain things. I'm very committed. I'm very focused. You just want to have the conversation at hand. So you don't have the other thing. I'm impatient. It's not that you're impatient. You are in a rush. Agility is your value. So you notice how some things like words like these can also modify. So it's not impatience. So because you just have agility. You just want to do things quickly. And that could be your value as well. So it is lots of introspection, and that is what leadership, it begins with the self, as initially was highlighted. Great. Anything else? Somebody said, please let us know how. I'll type it out for you. So the values are, very quickly, there is connection. And Jan, can you just repeat it? Some people would like you to repeat it as well, while I'm typing it out as well. The 6 values: constraint, restraint, self-esteem.
I've just typed them out.
Oh, you just typed. Oh, great, perfect. Thank you.
They're in the group, yeah. Rabia already asked, so I just did that.
Perfect, thank you.
It is connection, listening, restraint, forgiveness, self-esteem, and hope.
And the reason why we would like you to discover your values, and it doesn't have to be these values. We'll also understand the definition. What Jan will get an opportunity, as he said, he likes to customize it to the country that we're into. The participant, what you see for yourself, what you see for others. This will then be customized specifically. So the behaviors would probably be customized to what our environment is going to be like. So for example, what is restraint in our context? So that the behavior, so when somebody asks, what is the content of it? So a lot of content will actually be, while the framework is set, the methodology is flexible, and even the content will come from the ideas that you give.
Yeah, and I also think that there is a possibility, of course, that if you're not, whether you're sure or unsure, to have this conversation with some friends or family, to have a group discussion about what values are important to you as a group. It doesn't even have to be just personal, but I mean, if as a family you have, you come together and say, talk a little bit about values and see what actually would be important to your whole family. You might come out with all the values, and all of a sudden somebody in the family or in the group might mention a value and say, hey, that's a really important one. I never thought of that. So I mean, it can open, it's just, you don't have to sit in a corner and meditate and find out what your values are going to be like. No, I mean, have this discussion, because I can guarantee you, once this process starts, there will be many discussions where and it starts probably with the values, because we're going to have something in common, but it goes much further than the boardroom, the table, the dinner table, and all the other kind of places at work or at home. This starts a movement. I can when we're going to start this, I'll also tell you some of the other things that that are not seen because you think of values now, but the benefits of communication, the benefits of it, understanding each other, the benefits of communicating with each other, the benefits of that bullying in school stops because children are getting together. I can send you a video from a school in Ireland where they had 8 values and the change it made in the pupils and the teachers at the same time, because there is a common connection, a common hope, a common direction, which is what we can all do with at good times and at bad times. And I think it's going to bind together. I mean, somebody was talking, I'm in a couple of programs as well, with the SDG hackathon in Pakistan as well, which is on in an hour's time actually. And a few people said, you know, the aim in Pakistan is to train 100 leaders, 1 million leaders. And it says, and a lot of them have got to come from the 60% of youngsters in Pakistan. And it says, how can we do this? It says, well, build a foundation. And the first thing that came to mind, not a fancy leadership program, it says values, because that's how we're going to connect. And that's the connection is the first part where, if we go back to John Maxwell, where he talks about leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. There is no way you'll ever get influence if you don't connect with people. How do you connect with people? Learn the values of listening, learn the values of respect, learn the values of hope, because as a leader is a seller of hope. So if you can actually express that and be excited about doing this for your own, your family, your community, your country, then you are already a leader. And leadership is not a title. It's behavior. It's not even a position. Leadership is a behavior. So we can all lead from where we are with what we've got and improve on that. And that's how we can build our self-leadership. And by building ourselves, we build others around us. Because when you change, we've all heard, be the change you want to see in the world. Well, what is that all about? That means that, you know, the only way we can guarantee that tomorrow will be better is not because looking at others, but if we decide to do something about ourselves to become better today. And we can do this together, because this is going to be teamwork like never before people have seen. And it's happening in entire countries. And I know it's going to, as Mr. Farhad said, if in other countries, why not Pakistan?
Great. So thank you very much. I think we've got, it's almost time as well. It's almost 6 o'clock. Rabia will be getting in touch with you. Rabia, you want to have the closing, just how they can go around with the registration and the process to it. She is the leader for this entire thing. Okay, so she's very kind enough. I personally feel John Roberts and Rabia, thank you very much for the opportunity. I thoroughly enjoyed these conversations, because, you know, sometimes when you speak, it also clarifies you. This half an hour was like a personal mental cleanup for me as well. So thank you very much, everybody, for the question. And Rabia, thank you for the opportunity.
I got one question.
Yes, sir. Batai. You'll do one question.
Okay. I just want to ask you in particular, what are the elements that actually affects the values you are going to shape up, or how you can say the environment actually affects your values, or the situation, or what's the criteria? What are the major things that actually affects your values when you are actually trying to make up your own values? Once you have identified, okay, this is my value, and sometimes it happens that within a situation, you actually do not go for that value that you have opted for yourself. So what is the key element that actually affects your value?
You know, I had a conversation like this with somebody some time back, because we are humans and to err is human, but you have to hold on to it very, and Jan, you can correct me on this one, but I'm just giving my perspective. You know, I was speaking to this person and he gave a very interesting example. He said, when you go through life, you know, there are times you get scratches on the screen on your arms and your wrist, or, you know, sometimes even the paper cuts your finger out. Okay, if it does, what do? You put a bandage. But in order to put the bandage, you need to realize what you've done. So if, for example, there are times where I have compromised on my own value for whatever reason, something I shouldn't have done, and I did it. Things happened. I'm human. I did it. I think the knowledge of these values actually helps you to put the bandage very quickly. Don't kill yourself. Forgive yourself for making that mistake, but be aware that I have actually made the mistake, and just be more cautious and aware. That's how we improve and we grow every day. It's not that I'm an angel. There are times though, मैं अक्सर मजाक में तो मेरे भाई का मीटर तो बहुत घूमता है. I mean, I'm anything on my meter immediately. I get a fuse off very quickly on things. But I think my other value is so powerful of having fun and enjoying life, so it compensates. But yes, I do get angry, and if I get angry, and it's just a question of realizing someone is here. You know, sometime back I had a little issue on Lahore airport, and I said something that maybe I shouldn't have said. And it's very interesting. By the time I went in, so it's like in less than a minute, I realized what I had done was a little overboard. I could not have done that. I could have avoided it. And I just felt like apologizing. And that's why the apology becomes so important. There are times it will happen. But I think but you can only do this if you're aware of it. Imagine apologizing for something you don't know, or something with a universal, right? You see so many people saying sorry, they don't even know why they are sorry. And that's the root cause. But thank you. I hope it gives you some sense of put a bandage. Thank you. Yes,
I just briefly want to add to that. I think what you said is exactly right. And this is what values do, because you don't know what you don't know. And what the values actually do is, more than anything, it creates an awareness. That's why I call it a reawakening of the awareness, because once you are aware, you can at least apologize. Yes, me included, we all make mistakes. But, like when we learn the value of restraint, then maybe the next time you say, hey, I remember the last time I said something I shouldn't have said. Now let me think first before I say something. That's restraint. So it's those little things. They all add up, and it's like a domino effect. All these values, they help to add to your inner person to become a much better person from within. And when that happens, leadership will happen.
Great. Thank you. Ji Rabia.
So guys, thank you so much. I just want to say about the question that Rizwan has asked earlier, and I really like the question, everybody that asked, but I want to add something in the Rizwan question that I want to answer that actually. I want to add to the Jan answer, that if you decide like your question was, what is leadership? Everybody, we are going through the life, and this is a long journey. Everybody is exploring our own selves, and the definition of leadership is different. When you choose what you define, how you define the leadership definition which belongs to you, then it will help you. Like if for me, maybe the value is taking initiatives. It is different from you for you. So define what is the meaning of leadership or other things to you. It may be upgraded in different points of time, but when you define it, you will understand more. And more of that, what I understand is that taking responsibility is the thing. Whether you don't have any other qualities or the virtues, you may develop over the process of the time, but one thing, taking responsibility and feeling that taking initiative and feeling responsibility might help you in this journey. So I just take the initiative. I just request Jan and Farhad. He is so kind human beings that they just responded to me and come up to join this conversation, and we have such a valuable discussion and points here. And I hope that I am looking forward to make it forward, and it will be because Jan and Farhad is more experienced. Saad is also a trainer, and he is more experienced. But the thing is that people love to learn. What I understand, they love to learn. So keep learning and do join our next session. And I'm looking forward to Jan and Farhad as well. So guys, if you have anything at the end you want to add, yeah, go for it.
Great, perfect. So thank you very much, everyone. Stay safe, maintain physical distance, but socially communicate with each other. People need people. Aapka bahut bahut shukriya. Thank you, Jan. Pleasure meeting you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Rabia.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Rabia.
And next time, Rabia will write to you because she's got your email ID. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you much.
Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.